Hello everyone, welcome back. If you have been here before, you already know the kind of conversation we have on this channel. And if you are new, well, you picked a good day. I want to start today by asking you something a little uncomfortable. When was the last time you walked through your home the way a first-time visitor would? Not the way you look at it every day, which is to say, barely at all, because familiarity makes us stop seeing things, but genuinely fresh eyes. I did this exercise about 4 years ago and was startled by what I noticed. Not because my home was dirty, I had been keeping it faithfully, but there were things making it look older and more tired than it needed to. Things I had stopped registering because they had been there long enough to become invisible. The kind of things a guest notices immediately and that we have trained ourselves not to see. Once I started paying attention to these things and addressing them one by one, the house changed in a visible and significant way without extra money or extra cleaning time. The same house, the same rooms, the same furniture, just without the 10 things that were quietly aging it. I have been wanting to share these for a while, and today's the day. These are the 10 simple mistakes that make a home look older and dirtier than it actually is, and every single one of them is completely fixable. Mistake number 1. Windows that have not been properly cleaned in too long. I will tell you how I know this one so well. A neighbor came over for coffee, sat at my kitchen table, looked at the window in just the right morning light, and said, "Margaret, when did you last do the windows?" The honest answer was that I genuinely could not remember. Windows are one of those surfaces that accumulate grime so gradually that the change is imperceptible day to day. You do not notice the light getting slightly dimmer, the view getting slightly hazier, the glass itself taking on that faintly gray, tired quality. You only notice it when the windows are clean again and the difference is striking. Dirty windows do more damage to how a home looks than almost any other single surface because they affect the light quality of every room they are in. A room with clean windows feels brighter, more alive, more cared for, even if nothing else about it has changed. A room with grimy windows has a dim, slightly neglected quality that no amount of cleaning elsewhere fully compensates for. I now clean my windows on the first clear morning of each month, inside and out where I can reach safely, inside only where I cannot. Plain water with a small amount of dish soap wrung into a barely damp cloth, followed by a dry microfiber buff. No streaks, no complicated products. The difference to how the rooms feel is every bit as significant as I expected. Tell me in the comments, when did you last properly clean your windows? Be honest, I will not tell anyone. I am just curious whether this is as universally neglected as I suspect. Mistake number 2, light bulbs that are the wrong temperature or too dim. This comes down to one distinction. Warm light and cool light feel completely different in a home, and the wrong choice ages a space in a way that is hard to compensate for with anything else. Cool, bluish light has a clinical quality. In a kitchen, living room, or bedroom, it makes the space feel institutional rather than domestic. It makes walls look slightly gray. It makes a home that might be entirely clean feel somehow cold and impersonal. Warm light, the kind with a yellowish quality that mimics late afternoon sun or candlelight, does the opposite. It makes every room it occupies feel warmer, more inviting, more genuinely lived in. It is more forgiving of minor imperfections. It creates the quality of light that makes people feel comfortable and at ease. I replaced every bulb in my house with warm tone bulbs several years ago. Visitors commented on it without being able to say exactly what had changed. The rooms looked the same, but felt completely different, cared for in a way they had not quite felt before. There is also the simple matter of adequacy. Bulbs that have dimmed over years, fixtures with fewer working bulbs than they should have, rooms where lighting was insufficient to begin with. All of these create a quality of dimness that reads as neglect, regardless of how clean the room is. A well-lit room looks cleaner than a poorly lit one, even when both have been equally maintained. Mistake number 3. Flat surfaces that have too many objects on them. I have been talking about this for years on this channel, and I include it here because I think it belongs in any honest conversation about why homes look older and more tired than they need to. Cluttered flat surfaces, the kitchen counter, the coffee table, the dresser, the entry table, create visual noise that registers as disorder even when every individual object on those surfaces is clean and has a right to be there. The eye, when it lands on a surface covered with objects, processes the scene as complex and slightly chaotic. It requires effort. The brain signals something that is not quite discomfort, but is adjacent to it. When the eye lands on a clear surface with only the things that genuinely need to be there, the signal is the opposite: calm, order, ease. I did not understand this fully until I started genuinely clearing surfaces rather than just tidying them. There is a difference between a counter with 10 objects neatly arranged and a counter with 3 objects. The neat arrangement is better than disorder, but it is not the same as genuine openness. The openness is what changes how a room feels to be in. I keep my kitchen counter clear except for the kettle, the coffee maker, and a small wooden dish for whatever fruit is in season. Everything else has a home inside a cabinet or drawer. The counter is wiped every evening as part of closing the kitchen, and the kitchen looks, every morning, not just clean but genuinely fresh, unencumbered, the opposite of old. Tell me in the comments, what is the flat surface in your home that accumulates the most objects? The one that always seems to attract things, no matter how many times you clear it. I have my own answer to this question, and I suspect most of us have the same one. Mistake number 4, grout and tile that has been cleaned but never properly addressed. Most kitchen and bathroom tile is cleaned regularly and looks reasonably clean as a result. But the grout between the tiles is a different matter entirely. Grout is porous, which means it absorbs moisture and particles and staining over time, regardless of how often it is wiped. The tile may be gleaming and the grout may still be gray or brown where it should be white or light. And that darkened grout makes the entire tiled surface look significantly older than it is. I spent years wiping my bathroom tile thoroughly and feeling faintly disappointed by how the result looked. The tile was clean, but the room still had an aged quality that I could not quite place. When I finally addressed the grout specifically, the transformation was so immediate and significant that I wished I had done it years earlier. A paste of baking soda and water left on grout lines for 10 minutes before gentle scrubbing with an old toothbrush produces results that ordinary wiping never will. For darkened grout, white vinegar applied first and rinsed away before the paste goes on adds extra power. Regular grout attention every few months keeps tiled surfaces looking fresh rather than clean but tired. Before I continue, a quick word. If you enjoy this channel and want to support my work, just look directly below the video player, right next to the subscribe button, and click the button that says Join. That is how you become a Smart Organizer. Smart Organizers members get exclusive videos, a loyalty badge in the comments, and custom channel emojis. I would love to have you there. Mistake number 5. Doors, baseboards, and light switches that are wiped but never really cleaned. These are the surfaces that nobody quite thinks of as surfaces, the things that are touched constantly and never specifically cleaned because they fall outside of both the daily quick wipe and the weekly deeper clean. They exist in a gap between the acknowledged cleaning tasks, and they accumulate a specific kind of grime that is very visible once you start looking for it, and completely invisible until then. Run your hand along the top edge of a door frame. Look at the area around a light switch where fingers have been landing for years. Look at the baseboards in a hallway, not from standing height, but crouching down to see them at their own level. The accumulation of grime and fingerprints and dust on these surfaces does not register as dirty in the way that a dirty floor or a smudged window registers, but it contributes to the aged, slightly dingy quality of a room in a way that is very real. I include doors, door frames, baseboards, and switch plates in my monthly cleaning pass. A barely damp microfiber cloth for smooth surfaces, a soft brush for grooves. Perhaps 15 additional minutes across the whole house. The effect is the particular cleanliness of a home where the overlooked details have not been overlooked. Mistake number 6. Fabrics that have been in place so long they have absorbed the quality of the air. Curtains, throw pillows, sofa cushion covers, bath towels on display. The cloth items that are part of the visual fabric of a room. These absorb dust and cooking odors and general household air over time. And when they have been in place long enough without washing or replacement, they carry a faintly stale quality that contributes to the overall sense of a room that is no longer quite fresh. This one is easy to miss because fabric aging is gradual and because we do not typically pick up and smell our curtains during our daily rounds of the house. But guests notice the quality of air in a room where the fabrics have been well maintained and regularly washed is perceptibly different from the quality in a room where they have not. I wash curtains twice a year, spring and fall, in line with seasonal rhythms I naturally follow. Throw pillow and cushion covers I wash seasonally, or whenever they have lost the freshness of laundered fabric. Bathroom display towels I replace when they no longer look genuinely good, which is a different threshold from when they stop being functional. Tell me in the comments, how often do you wash your curtains? I think this is the answer most people know sheepishly and rarely admit out loud, because the honest answer for most of us is not as often as it should be. Please subscribe if you are not yet subscribed. Every week I share practical, experience-based guidance about keeping a home that genuinely looks and feels well maintained, from someone who has spent a long time figuring out what actually makes the difference. Mistake number 7. Mirrors and glass surfaces with smears that have been there so long they look like the glass. This is a close cousin of the window problem, but it affects different rooms and is easier to overlook for even longer. The bathroom mirror, the glass in picture frames, glass-fronted cabinet doors, the microwave glass. All of these accumulate a film of smears and toothpaste and cooking residue and fingerprints that, over time, becomes so familiar that it registers as simply how the glass looks, rather than as something applied to it. A smeared mirror in a bathroom makes the bathroom look significantly older than it is. A clean mirror in the same bathroom, with the same tiles and the same fixtures and the same everything else, makes the room look years newer. The same applies to every glass surface in the house. Clean glass reads as newness and care. Smeared glass reads as age and neglect, even in a room that is otherwise well maintained. I wipe mirrors and glass surfaces with a barely damp cloth and a dry microfiber buff 3 times a week, which sounds like a lot, but takes about 90 seconds total across the house. Consistency produces the clean result, and the clean result makes every room look genuinely fresh. Mistake number 8. Appliances that are cleaned on their surfaces but neglected underneath and behind them. The visible surfaces of kitchen appliances get wiped because they are visible. The sides, the back, the area around the base, the space between the appliance and the wall or the adjacent appliance. These are invisible in normal use and accumulate grease and dust accordingly. A refrigerator with clean doors and a dark, greasy strip along its side reads as an appliance that has been wiped rather than cleaned. The difference is visible once you know to look. I do a complete pull forward and clean behind pass on major appliances twice a year. This is not a weekly or even monthly task, but twice a year is enough to prevent the kind of accumulation that makes appliances look significantly older than their actual age. The sides and backs of the stove, the refrigerator, the area around the base of small countertop appliances. These are where the visual aging happens most dramatically and is most easily prevented. The tops of the refrigerator and the microwave deserve special mention because they are visible from certain angles and heights even when we do not consciously look at them. A clean top refrigerator looks younger than one where a layer of dust and grease has been accumulating since the last time someone noticed it. Mistake number 9. A front door and entry that have been forgotten. The entry of a house sets the expectation for everything inside it. When the entry is clean, organized, and feels genuinely welcoming, every room beyond it benefits from that first impression. When the entry is cluttered or the front door itself looks neglected, a quality of tiredness is established before anyone has seen the rest of the house. The front door specifically is something that most homeowners address approximately never. The paint or finish on an exterior door is exposed to everything: sun, rain, fluctuating temperatures, the touch of many hands over many years. When the door looks faded, marked, or simply no longer fresh, it makes the whole house look older from the outside and less welcoming from the inside. I wipe my front door with a damp cloth and a small amount of dish soap twice a year, which is the minimum needed to keep it looking cared for. The door handle and knocker or bell plate I address monthly because these are touched constantly and show it quickly. A clean, well-maintained front door communicates care about the whole property in a way that is disproportionate to the small amount of time it requires. The entry inside the door. Shoes managed properly, surfaces clear of the daily accumulation of incoming items, the floor swept and mat shaken. These small things keep the first interior space of the house looking as intentional and welcoming as everything else. Tell me in the comments, when did you last give your front door any specific attention? I think most of us have a threshold for what we clean, and the front door falls below it for most people, and that is worth reconsidering. Mistake number 10, small repairs deferred long enough to become invisible. This last one is different from the others because it is not a cleaning issue, but an attention issue. The light switch plate that cracked 2 years ago and was noted and not replaced. The small scuff on the baseboard that was acknowledged and left. The curtain rod that sits at a slightly wrong angle since one bracket came slightly loose. The cabinet door that was correctly hung and has been hanging a fraction of an inch off for so long that it has become simply how that cabinet looks. Each of these things individually is minor, but they share a quality with everything else on this list. They register below the threshold of conscious attention and contribute above it. A home where small repairs have been deferred long enough has a quality of incompleteness that is felt rather than seen. The opposite is a home where the small things have been addressed. Not a wealthy home or a newly renovated one, simply a tended home. I keep a small list of minor repairs and address 1 or 2 per week, not on any formal schedule, just an ongoing awareness that small things deserve prompt attention. When I address something from that list, the visual effect on the house is often larger than the size of the repair would suggest. A house tended in small ways consistently looks genuinely different from one that has been cleaned but not tended. What I want you to take from this list is not a project. Please do not read it as 10 things to do this weekend. That is how good intentions become exhaustion and nothing gets done. Think of it instead as 10 areas of attention. Pick the one on this list that you most recognize in your own home. The one that made you feel that quiet internal acknowledgement of, yes, that one is true here. Start there. Address it. Notice the difference. Then pick the next one. A home that looks fresh and well-maintained is almost never the result of a single large effort. It is the result of consistent, specific attention to the details that accumulate into the overall impression. The impression you have when you walk in. The impression a guest has before they have consciously registered anything about the space. That impression is built from all 10 of these things being in good order, and it is entirely within reach, one small thing at a time. I want to hear from you now. In the comments, tell me which of these 10 you most recognized in your own home. Not the one that will be hardest to address. The one you saw yourself in most clearly when I was describing it. I read every single comment, and these conversations are genuinely some of the most valuable ones we have here. And please subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. Every week I share what I've learned about keeping a home that looks and feels genuinely cared for at every stage of life. Not a perfect home. Not an exhausting home, Just a home that is tended with real attention and real affection every day in small ways. I will see you next week.